Shalom. I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Ha, Racha, Chodash, Ma'amah. Double honors to the elder apostles of GMS and the elders. Double honors to my elder, Aharawan Banyasharala of the Lions Den Camp, here in Jacksonville, Florida. Also, salutations to the sincere Akim, pushing this truth and sincerity around the four corners of this earth. I'm Nakar Harab Banyasharala, coming out of the Lions Den Camp of Yasharala, located here in Jacksonville, Florida. And not today, I'll be coming out a lesson, and it's based off this article. Of course, it's about 2 days old, because here lately, I've been going through got this thing called Smart News, and I've been going through it. And the truth of the matter is, they've been putting up basically bullshit articles that don't really mean nothing. I used to get notifications for breaking news and all this stuff. Now, I'm not really getting any notifications, so I have to look. But I seen this article right here, and it says the Philippines won't invoke mutual defense treaty with U.S. after Chinese confrontation at disputed shoal. So, and the reason why they're not going to invoke that U.S. treaty, because that would put them in direct conflict with China. And the truth of the matter is, even though they are allies of America, such as Japan, the Philippines, Taiwan, they don't really want a war. They don't really want to fight, So this is the reason why they didn't invoke the defense treaty, because Babylon America is already over there in the Taiwanese Strait, trying to provoke Moab, i.e. China, to go to war, to throw the first blow, so that they can have it, so Esau can make up an excuse to say, we're at war, we need to defend ourselves. You know how these crackers do, and I'm gonna just say it how it is. It is what it is, whatever. So they're not going to invoke that. They're gonna be like, nah, we ain't finna do that, because the Philippines don't really want a problem. And this, once I get down to the article, it was very strategic by China, because in doing this could very well cause the Philippines to turn against America and ally themselves with China or BRICS, which is a lot stronger than America. But without further ado, let's get right into it. It says, the Philippines said Friday it has no plans to invoke its mutual defense treaty with the United States after the Chinese Coast Guard reportedly rammed, boarded, and used machetes and axes to damage 2 Philippine Navy boats in a chaotic face-off that injured Filipino Navy personnel at a disputed shoal in the South China Sea. It says, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr., key advisors made remarks in a televised news conference, squelching speculation that Manila might consider invoking the 1951 treaty to secure U.S. military help after Monday's confrontation at Second Thomas Shoal, where the Chinese Coast Guard also seized Philippine Navy rifles. Since the Philippine military chief condemned the incident, likening it to an act of piracy, kind of sort of was, but it was still strategic. And demanded that China return the rifles and pay for the damage. They only did that because they know the Philippines is allied with America. It says the territorial disputes, which involve China, the Philippines, Vietnam, Malaysia, Brunei, and Taiwan, have long been seen as an Asian flashpoint that could pit the U.S. against China if the high seas confrontations escalate into an armed conflict, and that's what it is. It says Washington has repeatedly warned that it is obligated to help defend the Philippines and its oldest treaty ally in Asia. The Filipino forces, ships, and aircraft come under an armed attack, including in the South China Sea. And the truth of the matter, it was an armed attack. It just wasn't with the modern day sword. It was actually with machetes and axes, which was actually, if you really want to look at it, was very smart, because right now this is a time of war. So these countries such as China, Russia, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and all these things. If they do something, they're moving strategically. Their moves are not just by happenstance. It's a move. It means something. They did it for a reason. But let's continue. It says, that has not been considered in our discussions. Salakia. Presidential assistance. It says, okay, let me start again. It says, that has not been considered in our discussions. It says, presidential assistance on maritime concerns. Andreas Centino, or Andreas, however you want to say it, said when asked if the Philippines was considering activating its treaty with the U.S., which the Philippines, they not stupid. They're going to no, because that's going to put them in direct conflict with China. And they're like, China and the Philippines and Taiwan, that's all right there. It ain't like the Philippines is on the other side of the world somewhere. They literally right there. It won't take China no time to come over there and wreck shop if necessary. But let's continue. It says Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin said the government did not consider the Chinese Coast Guard confrontation an armed attack, even though it kind of was an armed attack, as stated in the Mutual Defense Treaty with the U.S. So they didn't consider it an armed attack, though it was an armed attack, just not with the modern day soil, i.e. which is guns, rifles, pistols, so forth and so forth. It says this was probably a misunderstanding or an accident. We're not ready to classify this as an armed attack, so they're not, because that's again the reason why they're not doing it, because they really don't want to. They really don't want to go to war. But again, it says we're not ready to classify this as an armed attack. Bersamin said. He says we saw Bolo acts, nothing beyond that. It says, in what critics may see as a concession to China, Bersamin said Marcos approved a recommendation for the government to publicize the schedule when Navy personnel are deployed for food transport, water. Let me read that again. It says, in what critics may see as a concession to China, Bersamin said, and Marcos approved a recommendation for the government to publicize the schedule when Navy personnel are deployed to transport food, water, and other supplies to the Philippines territorial outposts in the shoal. A small Philippine Navy contingent aboard a long-grounded, dilapidated warship, that is the BRP Sierra Madre, has occupied Second Thomas Shoal since 1999. But China later deployed Coast Guard, Navy, and suspected militia ships in a territorial standoff that has become, Salakia, increasingly volatile. And of course, and the reason why China has become increasingly volatile, because Esau got his punk ass over there doing the tomfoolery, doing the Johnny. But let's continue. During the hours-long confrontation at the shoal on Monday, Chinese military personnel on board more than 8 motorboats reportedly rammed and boarded 2 Philippine Navy inflatable boats to prevent Filipino Navy personnel from transferring food and other supplies, including firearms, to the Philippine ship outposts. Strategic. It says, and after a scuffle and repeated collisions, the Chinese reportedly seized the boats and damaged them with machetes, knives, and hammers. They also seized 8 M4 rifles. Them some old ass rifles. Probably M4 Grand or something. They had them back in what, World War I, World War II? Well, let's continue. It says, which were packed in cases and other supplies, and wounded a number of Filipino Navy personnel, including one who lost his right thumb, so they probably chopped off his thumb. That's believable. It says 2 Filipino security officials told the Associated Press on Tuesday. It says the Philippine Navy said only one person was injured, but the 2 officials said at least 5 were treated on a Philippine Coast Guard ship that sailed close to the shore to help the Navy personnel. It says the 2 officials spoke on the condition of anonymity. Anonymity. Shoot, whatever. Let's continue. Because they weren't authorized to discuss the defensive. So like they weren't authorized to discuss the sensitive conflict publicly. Anonymity. That's what it is. Anonymity. That's a retarded ass word. But let's continue. It says China blamed the Philippines for the confrontation, saying the Filipino personnel trespassed into the shoal in defiance of its warnings. The Philippines demanded that the Chinese Coast Guard and Navy and other ships immediately leave the shoal, which it says is inside its internationally recognized exclusive economic zone, and said it would not yield to Chinese aggression. So it's basically China just pulled a little quick strategic move to kind of rustle, the Philippines' feathers a little bit, and that's really what it was, But it did make me think of one scripture though, in Revelations chapter 17 verse 16, and it says, "And the 10 horns which thou sawest, Salakia, and the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall turn and hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire." We all know what the 10 horns is. That's the European Union, or once upon a time it was the EEC, the European Economic Community, but now it is known as the European Union. But that was just the scripture that I thought about. And these other nations and those 10 horns that's going to turn, and they're going to hate the whole, i.e. America. And see, it's getting to a point to where these other nations are starting to attack and or siege American allies, such as Ukraine, Taiwan, the Philippines, and and so forth and so forth like that. So it's going to get to that point, and eventually these other nations that are allied, America going to lose more allies. They've lost many, but they're going to lose even more, and they're going to turn and go with the other nations, because Russia is going to be that guard unto them, so they're not going to be afraid of what America could do to them. But these 10 horns, they're going to turn and they're going to hate the whore, and they're going to make this place desolate and naked. They're going to strip all the resources from this place. They're going to eat her flesh, and they're going to burn this place with fire. They're going to destroy this place. They're going to destroy the economy and all of this stuff. This is what's going to happen. So all American allies, probably outside of Israel, it's going to be more to turn against this place. And this was just one of those things, these little, say, happenings or confrontation that China used to sway the Philippines to move away from America. This is why the Philippines did not invoke their mutual defense treaty, because the Philippines know that would have put them in direct war, direct confrontation with China. And with that, shalom.